Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today for the forum with the regional candidates. I'm Ankita Kumar. I'm the regional coordinator for Region 11, which includes the following states and regions: California, Arizona, Nevada, Hawaii, and the Mariana Islands. I'm very happy to be joined by some of our candidates this year for the RC positions. Today, our forum will be focusing on the questions will be around the RC position, its work with national, and the vision that these candidates have for their regions. And I'm very happy to have Ginny, Michelle, and Mackenzie join us from their respective regions. So yeah, I will let everyone introduce themselves and then we can get started. So maybe we can go ahead with you, Ginny.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jenny McCabe, and I'm a journalist, a freelancer, and I'm also served with SPJ in Cincinnati, as well as Region 4, and I'm also the vice chair of the freelance community and board member.
We can then go with, you can pass it on, Jenny, whoever you want after this.
Hi, Michelle would be great, and then Mackenzie would be fine too. Hi, guys.
Hi, Jenny. My name is Michelle Watson. I am the current incumbent Region 1 coordinator. I was appointed earlier this year by Ashanti Blaze Hopkins, president of SPJ. And I guess we'll get to a point where you'll learn a little bit more about me specifically, but I've been involved with SPJ local chapters and national chapters since 2021. And I'll pass it to Mackenzie.
Thanks, Michelle. I'm Mackenzie Romero. I'm the current Region 9 coordinator, first term, I guess. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I've been a member of SPJ since I was a freshman in college, and I am the editor of Utah News Dispatch, which is States Newsroom's Utah news outlet.
Thank you all for joining. And to just get started, maybe we can start with the current RCs, Mackenzie and Michelle. What motivated you to run for this position again?
I don't know if you want me to go first or Mackenzie or...
You go ahead. I just took
I'm also a current RC.
Okay, then this question's for everybody. So yeah, what motivated you to run for this position again?
I'll go ahead and go first. So I was involved with SPJ Georgia. I was vice president of that chapter for 2 years. And when I moved to New York last year, I had quite a few people from the national network that reached out to me and said, oh my gosh, you got to get involved with the Deadline Club. You got to get involved with the executive council, see what you can do. And there ended up being a situation where the previous Region 1 coordinator had to step down. And I had people reach out to me and say, hey, are you interested? And just because of the work that I did while I was at SPJ Georgia as vice president, we won Small Chapter of the Year with national and a lot of other awards. It was kind of a position that I won't say I wasn't looking for, but it was something that allows me to be able to grow and kind of network with people within the business. So part of the reason why I am running again is because I am passionate about this. Like I said, as a vice president for SPJ Georgia, I was able to do stuff with that chapter, and I'm hoping to do stuff like that, but at a regional basis. And so wasn't really able to do that with the appointment. So now I'm hoping if I run for the position and I win the position, that I can actually make those dreams into reality. So I'll pass it to Jenny.
Thank you. Just a little background of me too. I've been involved with SPJ since 2010. And I have been able to work my way up the ranks. I think I started as a board member in Cincinnati. I got very involved there, took on a secretary role for about 5 years, then kind of moved into the president's role for multiple terms. From there, I got involved nationally as an RC and took on some other roles like the freelance community and so on. But I just wanted to tell you a little bit more about me. And I tried to capsulize this in a couple of sentences here to keep it brief. I've been named the Freelancer of the Year for several consecutive years. I'm a lifelong journalist and a Howard S. Dubin Outstanding Pro Chapter Award recipient, and I've been recognized for my work for contributions to the Cincinnati chapter and in Region 4. I'm passionate about our profession, and I have been called to a leadership role. I see this as a way to carry the torch and give back. I have been mentored and served alongside of other names of excellence, such as Emil Dansker. He's the co-founder of the Cincinnati chapter. He's a contemporary of Dubin, as well as other people in our chapter, Hagit Lamore, Tom McKee, Patty Newberry, Jenny Wolforth. It's a long list, Narissa Young, and so many other people. This role is really important to me and my peers for many reasons, and I really just wanted to make myself available to serve and help to further journalism for many years to come.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Mackenzie, what are your thoughts about running again for this position?
Okay. I apologize if you can hear the car alarm that just started going off outside. I have no idea. So the short answer of why I wanted to run again is that there is more I would like to do. I came into this role as we were coming out of the pandemic. And if we go through our day-to-day, even now, there are some days where it still feels that way, and other days where we feel like we're moving forward. But I think that there's more that I would like to do that has been difficult to accomplish in the past few years, as I have come out of the pandemic and been changed by the pandemic, and also our journalism industry here in the West. I represent Utah, Wyoming, New Mexico, and Colorado, and also our chapters. I see our chapters struggling to maintain volunteers on their board, to maintain the support that they need to continue to serve journalists in their area, to do programs. And I want to continue searching with them for ways to find strength and find a way to make it work for them. So there's more that I want us to accomplish there that I think we haven't been able to focus on as individuals, as chapters in the past couple of years. And so I'm hopeful for what we can accomplish in the next few years.
Thank you so much, Mackenzie. And I see that we also have Jane with us, who is contesting for the Region 1 coordinator position. So, Jane, maybe you can just introduce yourself, and you can also tell us why you're motivated to run for this position.
I'm Jane from Morano. Hi, Jenny. I had not really thought about coming back onto leadership positions. I was regional coordinator for 5 years after being Rebecca Baker's number 2 for 3 years. But I was approached by a couple of longtime SPJ members and mentors to an extent, one a mentor to an extent of me, who said they were really interested in bringing some more experience and just the perspective of somebody who had held the role before into the job. And I really understand that because we've gone through some rocky periods, obviously the pandemic and some other rough periods. Region 1 is, of course, the largest in population of our regions, one of the smallest, if not the smallest, in geography. Michael Koretsky says I could walk from my house to anywhere in the region, which isn't quite true, but it's not like Utah, Colorado, New Mexico. Oh my goodness. Maybe I could take a dog sled, but I just feel that it's time to bring some of the experience and the maybe the calming influence of somebody who's been there before into some trauma that's going on, not so much in the region as in the national.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jane, and thank you for considering this position. And that actually leads into my next question. So as the RC, I'm an RC of a big, massive region. I've got the biggest state, California. So it's definitely not possible for me to travel from one end to the other, and definitely not the Mariana Islands. I need to take a plane to get there. But this is one of the things I noticed when I became the RC a year back, which is the position is so important to the entire national, like it's just such an important position in the chaos that is called SPJ, because there's so much happening in the SPJ. There's the chapters, there are the student chapters, there's national. So as RC, what do you feel is what is the changing role of the RC in today's world, in today's SPJ? And the second question is, how do you see the RC position really strengthening the relationship with nationals so that chapters feel like they are getting some value out of, the RCs and the national? So 2 questions. Whoever wants to go first.
I can
I
go
have
first.
some thoughts.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So it's hard for me to speak to what the RC's role should be in every region, because as we just established, our regions are all so very different, from geography to the strength and history of our chapters. I know what we need in Region 9, and what I think we need, and I think the role that I want to help fill as the RC is to reconnect the fibers between our different chapters, between our professional chapters, between our student chapters. And in Wyoming, where they don't currently have a professional chapter, how can we reach SPJ members who are just islands in Wyoming? And so that is one of the greatest benefits that I think that I as an RC could serve in Region 9, is reconnecting our chapters to each other, connecting them to me, and through me to the national organization and to other regions. There's a lot that I hope to learn from these successes that I see in other regions, and then bring them back to the chapters here in my states. So as far as that role and that benefit to members in our area, that's what I see.
I guess I'll address it next. When I was first Rebecca's number 2, and then I was regional director because we were members of the board. Then came the great board shrinking, which is not the proper term for it, but we never really addressed the changing role of the regional director / coordinator at the time. We were all just kind of playing it by ear. We had a very strong RC caucus at the time, and we were working together quite well, but then the pandemic hit, and it really did pull things apart. What I see as the changing role of the RC is we have it's more of a challenge sometimes to bring in new members to chapters and to help the advisors formulate and strengthen student chapters. Region 1 has what has been Student Chapter of the Year several times. In New Jersey's William Patterson University, and I really hope, if I'm elected, to work closely with Nick Hirshon in getting ideas out to other student chapters. We have to work together within the region. This was something Region 1 did very well. Unfortunately, one of the major cities in the United States, Philadelphia, no longer has a chapter, and it's been my goal, and was Chris Ficcaro's goal, to remedy that. And I would really want to bring that in, but in the interim, have more meetings between New Jersey Pro and Keystone, working with Philadelphia. And as far as working with other regions, it's almost impossible for Region 1 and Region 2 not to work together, because we do have that major Philadelphia Wilmington population area. So we do. But I think the most important change is to accept what's going on now in terms of finances and membership and address it.
I can go next. I think for me, the definition of a regional coordinator, I think, is something that is ever changing, especially as someone who came in as an appointed person to this position. 2 of my primary goals, and I've said it for the candidate sheet and everything, is to help diversify Region 1's membership, but also increase membership. So I'm not a member of NABJ, but I kind of follow and I'm loosely connected to NABJ. And one of the things that I found with a lot of the journalism organizations is that they do really good locally, but I feel like it's a little bit disjointed when there's like a national and a local membership kind of thing. And my goal is to kind of try and put those together. Perfect example, just like Jane was talking about, when I was a student at LSU in Louisiana, I had no idea that there was an SPJ chapter there, like no idea. It wasn't until I went to the convention in 2022 as a diversity fellow for national that I met one of my old professors there who was there with a group of students. And since then, I've been in contact with them. So my goal really is to increase membership, increase diversity. And one of the ways that I am looking to increase membership specifically with Region 1 is because it's such a big region, because there are such big networks here, it's like New York Times, NBC, ABC, all of the big ones. Personally, I work at CNN. My goal is to try and get the big national networks to kind of work internally to try and increase membership. And that's something that I've already been trying to do with the Deadline Club, and I've been working with the SPJ Foundation to try and see if there's ways that we can fundraise and increase membership in unique ways.
Ginny, do you want to go next or? Okay.
Oh, sure. My thoughts are really the RC is the heartbeat of SPJ. They carry out the day-to-day work, the dreams, the goals, the mission of SPJ with the members, the chapters, other leaders, and throughout the region. And they work closely alongside of HQ staff and other SPJ's appointed leaders to continue SPJ's work on the ground level. So I really feel like they are the eyes, the ears, the voice, and the hands of SPJ with students and pro members. We really kind of talk to them on a daily basis and find out like what their needs are, what they're doing, that kind of thing. I feel like is really important. And then for me, like I've really been able to, once I get that information, then I can just share that with HQ. And usually like I take care of it right away. Like I'll just pick up the phone or drop an email and we can handle a lot of business that way. And the other thing I think too, we're able to work with not only the members, but other like-minded organizations and partners and beyond that. I feel like RCs are really a vital part of SPJ. I've been fortunate and grateful to serve in this role for Region 4 for several years, and I hope to continue that. And just kind of sharing my own experience. For the second part of your question, how can RCs be a better liaison? I think it's really just being that, like hearing from people and sharing and, passing along ideas, those kind of things. It's really worked well for me to get to know the individual people, like not only at the chapter level, but each of the people within the chapters. And there's so much, I mean, we have a wealth in Region 4. We really have an outstanding group of people, as I know we do across the country. And it's really just finding out ways you can work together. And I think most importantly for me, it's really just been that being available piece and being willing to serve. I don't always have to be at the top of the ladder. I don't mind getting my hands dirty and just really doing whatever it takes to get it done. And I think that's been a strength for me. Just having that open door and email, really working hard is like at the top of my list, along with really I'm an encourager and a cheerleader. And so I think that enables other people to do their best work.
Thank you so much, Ginny, and thank you so much for all the service you've done for your region. This is amazing. And yeah, so my next question is it's tying into the topic of memberships. And we actually got some responses from Tatiana, who was also one of the candidates but couldn't make it today. And I had asked Tatiana what improvements she wanted to see in the region after getting elected, and she had said that she wanted to see an expansion of the SPJ network. So I wanted to ask all of you, like you all mentioned membership, so you are looking at expansion. You want to set up chapters in underrepresented places and places where there are a lot of people but there's no chapters. So my question basically is, what benefits do you think you can showcase to members about joining the SPJ if and when you get elected? Because you are talking a lot about boosting membership. So how do you plan to go about it? Like, how do you plan to make people realize that there's a value to being an SPJ member? Maybe we can get started this time with McKinsey.
So the benefit that when I talk to people about being an SPJ, I mentioned I've been a member of SPJ since I was a freshman in college. I haven't yet spoken about my Utah involvement in SPJ, which is that for about a dozen years now, I've been a member of our Utah Headliners board, including 4 years as president. And so it's a good, active, but small and busy group of people here in Utah that put this on. And a lot of our different trainings and activities are geared not specifically toward SPJ members, but just to Utah journalists. And then we make the invitation there to learn more about SPJ. And the benefits that I talk about when I talk about SPJ are the support and mentorship and encouragement and education that I have received through the years from that time as a freshman in college until today. I mean, I'm in the job that I'm in now, in part because of a connection at SPJ who told me about an opening. And then the strength that SPJ has as a voice of advocacy for journalists, standing up for journalists. This is something that I really admired about Ashanti's term in office. This is something that I thought she did well, that she was quick to speak in defense of journalists, to speak with authority that SPJ has as this storied organization supporting journalists in the United States. And whether that's from working with a large organization like the Wall Street Journal in fighting to bring Evan Gershkovich home from his imprisonment in Russia, or working with a local news outlet like the Marion County Register in Kansas, as they have fought for their First Amendment rights after being mistreated and targeted by officials in their area. SPJ has a strength to stand in and support those journalists in time of need. And so those are the benefits that I share when, again, drawing in all journalists in our area to then introduce them to our chapter.
I guess I can go next. I also started, of course, on the chapter level. I joined the board of the New Jersey Pro chapter when Stephanie Overman, who is now Region 2 coordinator, moved out of state. It was basically a phone call from David Levitt, who was president of the chapter, that said sort of help. And so I joined the board. And one of the things that I brought to the board, because I had been involved with the National Federation of Press Women, because I had an editor who was very involved, was working with high school students. And New Jersey and Pennsylvania, not as much some of the other states in the region, but I think they all should work with high school students. In New Jersey, they have up to 70 professionals visit Rutgers University on the last Monday in October and conduct seminars and workshops for high school journalists. Yes, we can do it because New Jersey is really little. But other states can do, we can do it in one day. People don't have to stay in a hotel. That's a big deal. For a long time, JEA thought we were wonderful. We're not wonderful, we're small. But starting with the high school students, we found was tremendously effective in getting them to join chapters at college and to get involved. We have several people who were student members who stayed on and became professional members. I think the younger you can get them, the better. And also advocacy. We have advocated for the new voices laws in the states in our region. We've advocated for open records laws. Recently, New Jersey just had a knockdown, drag out battle against our governor who was trying to damage the open records bill. Being very open and loud as heck about our advocacy has helped. Also, events that really bring people together. We've tried to do that. What I found early on was that chapters tended to be centered in one area, one region, and oh my God, we have to drive 35 miles to meet. I realize, Mackenzie, that's really funny, but you know, moving our events around in the states, inviting again young people, which does help with the diversity, with increasing diversity. We've found is when we reach out to the young people, we're also reaching out to people who hadn't thought about joining, who are already professionals, and just being there and saying, what can I do to help? What do you need right now? And just always being open, always picking up the phone. We also, one of our states had a lawsuit filed against the press association. It was insane. There were 4 crazy guys with guns on the state house, in the state, outside the state house door in New Jersey, flashing fake press passes. And we have a New Jersey Press Association which issues press passes. That's what's on my car, whatever. But it, for some freelancers, it got difficult to pay for those press passes because of all the fallout from this lawsuit. So the chapter started issuing press passes. It got off to a rocky start, as you might imagine. We were dealing with the post office, among other things, but it worked and it brought in a lot of members. So there's so many ways and the caucus needs to say, hey, this worked in my region, or this collapsed in my region, and you know, always communicate.
I'll go ahead. I'll share broadly. You know, I mentioned I'm really proud to be a part of Region 4. We're really built on strong leaders and chapters like Cincinnati, I mentioned, Columbus, Cleveland, Detroit, Pittsburgh, and Ohio University, among so many others. And I really want to continue that legacy. We're really known for excellence. We've produced award-winning members and chapters and leaders. And I want to help to continue to strengthen our members and chapters, really with providing them the tools they need to further our work as we grow and share SPJ beyond the region. But a couple practical examples, as folks have been sharing, we've had a couple successful programs, many really, but in Cincinnati, we had spearheaded a program where we worked with the local police department on really media laws, and just that was a very successful program, really a groundbreaking program where the media professionals meet several times a year to really have a seminar with the police department. And we just really share like some of the different things that are going on, how things can be handled better. But it's been a very good program for us. And I think it's set an example for people that you can work with like government and entities like the police department and have successful partnerships. Another thing that's been really successful on the college level, we do also have an annual high school program, a high school boot camp, we call it, where we really just try to get these high schoolers introduced to journalism, to get them interested in the field. But on a college level, one of our leaders in Cincinnati does something. It started out called Lunch with the Pros, and it evolved over COVID to Chat with the Pros. And what it really does is matching these students up with a lot of pros. The pros come into the classroom, they share about different topics, and it really gives them that one-on-one experience with the pro journalist. Someone from a TV station, newspaper comes in, talks to these kids, engages with them, and it's been a huge, good program for us. One area of need that we are seeing in this area, in this region, is a lot of early career journalists, maybe like 5 to 7 years in. They're sort of they're either, you know, changing jobs, or there's a lot of turnover in the field. So I think maybe there's things that SPJ can do to really reach out to these younger journalists that are starting in their career, but you know, maybe they're like 5 to 7 years in, and then they might bail out because they're running into challenges that they don't know how to work through them. So I think that's one thing we can do to help.
I guess that means it's my turn. I'd love to take a poll of how many people got involved with SPJ because someone called them and said, we need help, especially in the leadership positions. Because that's kind of what happened with me when Jane was saying her story. I was like, kind of what happened. I had a coworker who was like, I'm running for SPJ Georgia president. Will you be my VP? And like, let's do this together. So I just find it so funny because I've heard that also from Adam Sennett and quite a few people. But for me, I kind of touched on membership with my last question. For me, membership, one of the things that I've realized, I'm kind of a late bloomer to journalism organizations altogether, but one of the things that I've realized just as being a late bloomer to the organizations is that I find that there's a lot of really good work with like local journalists and local stuff, but there's not a lot of network involvement. And I think as someone who works at a pretty big network, that kind of bothers me sometimes. I'm like, why aren't these networks more involved? You know, a sponsorship looks nice, but like it's not super helpful if the people, the organization that's sponsoring doesn't have a vast membership. So I'm currently working with that. One of the people who is on the SPJ Foundation, his name's Frank Lamonti. I've been working with him. He is also a content lawyer for CNN. So he and I have been literally brainstorming, trying to figure out how we can increase membership, not just membership for Region 1, but just membership at all network levels. And so that is something that is really at the forefront of my mind. In doing so, I have been working with Cesar, who is the president of the Deadline Club in New York. And he and I have been trying to figure out how to put on a Region 1 conference next year because it's going to be in New York and it is a lot of work. Cesar has been working with Adam and he's also reached out to Claire, who is a former president. You know, I'm trying to find a space. I was trying to get CNN to host it and unfortunately that did not work. But part of my responsibility as a Region 1 coordinator is to use the resources that I have. So even though I wasn't able to get CNN to host the convention next year or the conference next year, I'm hoping that I can do tours, right? Even if there's tours that we can add at the end of a convention for students, that kind of stuff, that kind of networking, that is the kind of stuff that helps increase membership. One other thing I will say, just because I haven't been in Region 1 for too long, but when I was with SPJ Georgia, one of our most prized sessions that we put on was a session called MMJ Safety First. A couple of years back, there was this MMJ out in West Virginia, and I'm sure you guys have seen the clip, who she got kind of ran over by a car, and everyone was like, what is happening? She's out there by herself. The anchor did not realize what was going on. So SPJ Georgia put on 2 sessions. Our first session had 200 plus people come to it. And Rebecca Aguilar, who was the president then, helped a lot with putting that session together and the successes of it. We saw a great amount of membership from that. But in turn, SPJ National adopted a code of ethics of MMJ safety principles. That is now something that I feel like is kind of a trademark of mine and Nicole Sartain, now Nicole Prano, at that time. So my goal is to continue to put on sessions like that allow for increase in membership, but also allow for things that we can add to our toolbox at SPJ National.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I just want to say it feels so heartening to see you all so passionate about the SPJ and the RC position because even if you're the RC of a massive region or it's a unique challenge, you know, of doing all these conferences for such a big region, getting everyone together. If you're RCs of region where they're, you know, it's a smaller region, but there's like unique challenges to that as well. You know, getting members to realize the importance of the SPJ and getting journalists together. It's unique in different ways, and it's heartening to see that you all are so invested in SPJ because it makes me feel great because I do personally feel sometimes as an RC it's a thankless job and the RCs don't get as much recognition as they should. But it feels so good to know that I now have a network of people I can reach out to if I ever have any, you know, anything to discuss about the RC position. That said, this is obviously a forum for the elections, so we are almost at time, and I want to give the audience a chance to ask some questions. So my last question for you all is that maybe do you have anything you want to say to the people listening in today and to your supporters, and like anything you want to say ahead of the elections now that it's so close by? So I'll open the forum to you all and let you talk to everybody. So maybe we can start with Michelle at this time.
Okay. Okay. I will say, I think one of the things that most people, I don't want to say don't know about me, but the fact that is I am a little bit of a newcomer. My SPJ involvement started in 2021. But since then, I've been as involved as I possibly can, and been super interested in growing with SPJ. I think there are so many journalists out there, myself included, being one of them, who have no idea that there's this organization that's out there fighting for them, that's out there wanting to give them tools and resources. I mean, the SPJ Toolbox on YouTube is fantastic, right? And so my goal and my hope with being Region 1 coordinator is to, one, connect the local chapters to the national chapters, increase membership, increase diversity. And I also want to help increase like cross connections between other journalism organizations. I've said it before, I was SPJ Georgia Vice President for 2 years. And during that time, we were able to put on programs with the Atlanta chapter of NABJ. And being able to do those cross, I think, communication sessions really helped Atlanta chapter NABJ members realize how much they could get out of SPJ, and SPJ members realize how much they could get out of NABJ, and that we're all quite the same if we think about it. So I'm really excited. I am the incumbent and I want to do more. I hope you guys will give me that opportunity to do so.
You can pass it on to whoever you want.
I'll pass it to Jenny.
Thank you, Michelle. I just want to say thank you to SPJ and all the fellow leaders here that really do keep SPJ moving on a regular basis and moving forward with excellence. I feel like in the midst of everything that's really around us and that weighs on us, we really need to remain like steady and focused and be equipped to take SPJ into the future. SPJ is really just a vehicle for all of us that enables us to do that. So I feel like if we stand on our core values, it will strengthen our forces as we move forward. Our challenges are similar across the board, as many of our colleagues face. So I think it's really important for us to stand together and support one another. And then I will pass it to Mackenzie.
Thank you, Jenny. I think the message that I would have for people in my region is that I know that you are working so hard right now, because I'm working hard. I know that you're working hard. I know that your jobs in many ways are harder than they've ever been, which means you have less time than you've had in the past to be able to do something like volunteer for SPJ. So I want to make it work for you. How can I make your volunteer time with SPJ fit you rather than trying to make you fit a predetermined volunteer role, if that makes sense? I want to find opportunities for you so that you can be involved in SPJ in our area. I also know that there are frustrations among our chapters with some of the membership role issues, with concerns about the budget. And though many members in our area may not feel connected to national, they may not know the people in the national positions, many of them know me. And so it's always great to me when I get an email from someone, with a question about trying to find something on the SPJ website, or they're having trouble renewing their membership. And even though they may not know who to go to at national, they go to me and I can connect them. And that's very rewarding to me. So I hope that I can continue to fill that role, to fill that connection, and to find ways for you to be involved in our area.
So I guess that leaves me.
Oh, yeah, Jane. Well, yeah, just Jane.
Well, I'd like to remind the members in my region that I've done this job before. I did it for 5 years, and we had some wonderful regional conferences, and we had some wonderful programs. And as everybody in the region knows, because they've heard it so many times, I really want a chapter in Philadelphia. And to that end, I really want to work with especially in Philadelphia, but all over the region, to work with the other journalism organizations, because we have found that in the big cities, working with NABJ, the Hispanic journalists, the Asian American journalists, even NAJA, is a tremendous benefit to everyone. And we want to continue to provide unique programs and, you know, a best way of bringing in membership. And I also promise that I will work with the other RCs. I hope we can maintain a very strong coordinators caucus, because that does a lot. And constantly, you know, dealing with and sometimes driving crazy the national staff. So thank you for your support.
Do we have any questions from the audience? If there are any questions, please post them in the chat. I don't see any questions from the audience right now, but maybe I can just pose individual questions to you all, because I would love to get to know you all better. So I'll start with Ginny. So Ginny, you've been the RC for your region for such a long time. What do you feel are the most unique, the unique things about your region? You know, what makes it so special, and why do you love this job so much?
I love the job because it gives me an opportunity to serve, and I feel energized by being around other people that are in journalism, whether that's students or pros. And I feel like one of our strengths in our region is really just having the two come together. We do have some colleges in our region: Miami, University of Cincinnati. I already mentioned Ohio University. So we do have a core group of students that we can mentor and reach out to. That's one thing I like. And I also like just being able to see the pros shine, whether that's through programming or just doing the award-winning work. We're strong on contest here in this area in Cincinnati and both Ohio. We have 2 contests. That's really been another strong thing for us, because I think it lets us it's a way to give our members some recognition for the hard work that they've done year after year. So that's one thing, a couple things that come to mind.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ginny. And my next question is for Jane. So, Jane, you've been a member since 1983, I think. So
Yes, the mere child.
it's before I was born even. So it's been a while. So I mean, it's so inspiring to see somebody, be with the SPJ for so long, and you've seen the SPJ grow and go through so much. So as an active SPJ member, and given the challenges we've been going through the last 2 or 3 years, how do you feel as an RC, you can make a difference, because things have changed so much. So if you can give some context about, why what you can do in this role given your years of experience in SPJ.
Well, I wasn't active for all that time. As I said, I was more active in New Jersey Press Women, which died an unpleasant death because of not moving and changing. But that is one thing I learned a lot from. You have to change. You have to do different kinds of programming. You have to seek out the people that you're serving and find out what they need, what sort of programs they need, what sort of incentives they need, especially with the student chapters, making them feel that they're vitally important to the organization, because they are. Ginny was talking about awards. Region 1 has a very good awards program. One of my smaller goals will be to talk Harvard University into coming to the regional again, because they haven't come since they lost something to Lehigh University and were so humiliated. They refused to come, the Ivies. But really encouraging students to come to the regional, because the regional is in a large measure for them. And working together with drawing on the strengths of each individual leader in each individual chapter is very important. We have a vast swath of our region that doesn't really have chapters. I mean, upstate New York and northern New England is part of the New England chapter, but I really would like to see more participation from the schools and the pros in Vermont and New Hampshire. Of course, we have dear, wonderful Irwin in Maine, but more other participation there would help too. So I really want to reach out to as many people as I can and bring them into the fold and explain to them that the changing world of journalism really needs them. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, absolutely. And you said changing world of journalism, and it makes me feel so good that you brought it up because I feel given the state of newsrooms and so many people have been laid off over the last 1 or 2 years, and it's just become very hard to be an active member of any organization. So I'm very glad to know you've been thinking so about it, and we have people within the SPJ who want to really fix that. So that's so good to know. Michelle, for you, I just want to know, first of all, thank you for taking on the position. I know it's been a whirlwind year for Region 1. There have been changes, and you came in at a very difficult time and you took over. So, how have you been managing since then? How did you rally all the chapters, right after taking over? And how are you planning things for the regional conference?
Yeah, so I really have to attest to the leaderships at all of the specific chapters. Cesar, #1 out of the Deadline Club, immediately reached out to me. He and I have a running meeting every other Thursday at 1:30 to talk. Sometimes it's not even anything like specific, but it's just like, hey, how are you? And I'd love to be able to implement something like that with all of the chapters, because at the end of the day, right, we can say that we're journalists, but we are effectively people who communicate. And sometimes these organizations and the network that I work at is not always the best at internally communicating. And the only way to be able to foster and develop relationships is to continue to communicate. So one of the things for me is kind of setting up something like that, like a rolling talking to the heads of each chapter, student chapters and local chapters. Another big thing, I really think that the communication part is key and vital, but I also think you have to bring in people who are willing to work with you. That really is a testament to how far you're going to be able to go. So one of my goals is to bring in other Michelle Watsons who kind of plop and fall into this and then go, hey, I kind of really like this thing. I want to continue to do this thing. I want to continue to foster this thing. So that's one of my things that I'm hoping to do. And as far as communicating, I've just kind of been sending out emails. I made my own like internal email alias with all of the chapters and the heads of chapters and their names and stuff, and kind of been reaching out to them. And the next coming weeks, I plan to do like a little bit of office hour things too. So if they want to speak to me directly, they can.
That's amazing. And I'm so glad you're doing that because I think for me, a big challenge as the RC was just keeping track of members in my region and, updating all the lists, all the Google sheets we have of the members. So I'm so glad, you're onto that. McKinsey, for you, my question is that you are so, first of all, you're so passionate about your region. And I always feel that when we look at the SPJ, we tend to, a lot of the regions that have like the smaller states or they sort of fall through the cracks, and like they don't get that much importance at the national level as they should. So how have you been bringing forth the voices of journalists in Utah and your whole region, because it's such an important region for the country. And I think given the elections coming up, there's so many important things happening there. So how are you going about like amplifying voices from your region?
Um, it's true that it's a little easy to write off, here the Mountain West, maybe the Midwest, when so many of our nation's big media hubs are on the coasts. And so I love celebrating journalists in our region here, making sure they feel important here. Some of the other very impressive women on this call talked about the contests in their areas, and that's a big thing that we do here. Colorado Pro chapter runs the Top of the Rockies regional contest, which is a lot of fun because then we get to compete with journalists from other states. And then here in Utah, we have our Utah Headliners chapter. And so journalists being recognized in that contest we've seen how meaningful that is to them when they win something, when they're recognized. We've opened that up to student journalists here in Utah for our state contest. And to see their enthusiasm when they come to our awards event, which we try to make a special event for those journalists to help them feel seen and celebrated, to see those students and their enthusiasm is also so important to us, and hopefully is sowing seeds with them as we invite them to look at SPJ membership. And so I hope that passion can be seen on a broader level, maybe through my work as regional coordinator, or maybe by me taking that and showcasing us a little bit more on the national level at SPJ. But at least for now, we're good at celebrating each other and celebrating our journalists here in our area.
That's so beautiful, because I have seen, I know how local journalism, how important it is, and how much of a difference it makes to someone's life, to get an award and be recognized for their work within the community. And that's so important. That's the backbone of SPJ and journalism in this country. And this is a question for all of you. What do you think would be the role of the SPJ in the coming years? Because there's been a lot of talk about the SPJ, not being able to find its identity. There's been a lot of talk about SPJ. If everybody knows about our financial problems, but what a lot of people are unable to see through that fog is that the SPJ is the only organization in this country that works for the First Amendment, for free speech, and we have been standing for those ideals since our inception. So what do you all feel should be the future of the SPJ, given so much is changing in our industry and in this country, and given that there's so much attack on free speech anyway? So what do you feel is the future of the SPJ?
I think that for me, you kind of answered it, Ankita, when you said that SPJ, this is the advocacy organization, that SPJ has a unique role with its history, with its authority, to stand for all journalists. How many newsrooms out there, even if they aren't actively participating in SPJ, how many newsrooms and news organizations say, well, we follow the SPJ code of ethics in our newsroom? Here there is respect for SPJ's legacy. And so when we push that to the forefront, when we are part of the national conversation surrounding journalism, keeping standards high, showcasing the good work that we're doing, even as voices all around us try to decry that and claim the opposite, and advocating for journalists in their moments of need, I think that can be a real strength in SPJ's future if we lean into that as our identity.
I would like to echo what Mackenzie said, and just really help us to kind of stay focused. I think remaining steady is kind of important, not to maybe follow the next big trend just for the sake of that, but to just really stay true to who we are and stay the course. And many of those things Mackenzie touched on are right on target there. So
there's not much more for me to say. I totally agree with what Mackenzie said. We are the advocacy organization, the First Amendment, free speech in every manner, and our code of ethics is the gold standard in many places. And anything that we can do to make sure that continues and that goes even further. I mean, there's a franchise organization started in New Jersey. It's moved into New York, where that local news franchises, the SPJ code of ethics is the cornerstone of that. They are, first thing they are out of the box, this is what you do. And I think that's wonderful. And I'm the man who founded it's an SPJ member, but I think that's wonderful. And I think we can the more we can foster that, the better.
Yeah, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I think I agree with everyone else. I think it's a really good question to ask because as someone who, like I said, I'm not a member of NABJ, but I loosely follow it. And I have a coworker who is VP of AAJA here in New York. And I've gotten comments from people before who are of the minority background saying, well, what is SPJ going to do, or what is SPJ going to stand for? If there's NAHJ, if there's AAJA, if there's NLGA, I think that's the other one, NABJ. And I think we just answered it on this call. It is the advocacy organization. When there are problems with journalism across the board, people look to SPJ. I mean, there's even been times internally at CNN where people have been like, oh, we need a comment from SPJ. I'm like, I know Ashanti Blaze Hopkins, I can reach out. There are things like that that show me how much this organization matters, not just on a local standpoint to student chapters, student journalism, student advocacy, but on a national level and network and respect. And that doesn't mean that the other organizations don't have that, but I think it's what differentiates us from the others.
Thank you. And that's such a wonderful reply to end this wonderful conversation, this forum. It was such a pleasure to have you all here. Thank you for joining me today. And I'm very excited for the elections, and good luck to all of you. And I'm sure it's going to be a great experience for everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was so nice to meet all of you, by the way.
I'd love to find a few Michelle Watsons in my chapter or in my region. Just saying.
Thank you.